Christian parenting.
Hey, Ron, welcome to Part of the Mess. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm honored to be with you today and glad to be here.
Tell us about your amazing family.
Well, thank you. Ann and I have been married for 39 years. We have 3 children. We are empty nest at this point in our life. We have 1 grandson, and he is absolutely delightful, and we are loving that new role, that new place in our lives. Yeah, I've been in marriage and family ministry for 37 years and spent quite a bit of time focusing on helping children and adults in complex family environments, whether they be single parent families or step families. And so I sort of stumbled my way into blended family ministry, not realizing that, well, this was 32 years ago now when I started doing that not realizing that there wasn't really anybody within the Christian community who was really focused on that. There were a few people that had done a couple of things. Resources were really hard to find. I just thought, well, somebody ought to do something. And so I was dumb enough to try, as I like to say, and the Lord sort of carved a path, and I've just been walking down that path ever since. So today I work for the ministry of FamilyLife, started many, many years ago, but we joined forces about 12 years ago, and FamilyLife Blended was the baby we gave birth to, I like to say, and FamilyLife Blended is the largest blended family ministry in the world. And that's not saying much, Courtney, because there's lots of room and lots of need for more and more and more resources and more attention given to this subject, how prevalent it is in the world and in our culture here in the U.S. We've got a long way to go is what I'm trying to say, but we're doing a lot at this point.
I love it. This interview came about because I had a listener reach out, and I had asked them, I said, hey, if we don't ever hit a topic or something you're struggling with, we want to know about it. And she said, I'm a blended family and I can't find support. And I haven't heard many conversations on Christian parenting podcasts about that. And I was like, she's right. And so I asked Jill Jefferson, and you were the first name that came up. I'm like, well, of course, here we have. But did you come into that because of an experience that you had blending a family, or just your passion and the work that you were doing?
Yeah, not my personal life. It's my professional life. So I've got a background in marriage and family therapy, but even when I was learning to be a clinician, I wanted to translate that into local church ministry that's more about prevention and enrichment. Wow. That is where I found the big gap. Even today, family ministry, by and large, does not talk much at all about single parent families, step families. We'll talk about fostering and adoption as in, please go do this, but I'm not even sure there's a whole ton of great training on how to do it in those spaces. There's just something about complex families that we have ignored, candidly. And we can talk around why that is. But let me just, for anybody listening or watching right now who's going, blended families, what's that? What? I don't know.
Let's start there.
That's not us. I just want to say, oh, yeah, it's you. What we're talking about today are step family relationships. You may not go, well, we don't have any stepchildren in our household. Okay, great. But I bet your sister or your uncle or your brother does, or is dating somebody with kids from a previous relationship. You're about to be a step grandparent because your adult children are dating somebody or married to somebody. You have a connection. It's not your life, it's your neighbor's life, it's somebody you know and love. Here's our estimate. 113 million Americans have a step relationship, Courtney, today. 113. That's 35% of every man, woman, and child in the United States can reach out and touch a step relationship in their life. Here's the other estimate. Another 100 million Americans know and love somebody who lives in a step family situation. So that's 2/3 of the U.S. population. And less than 1% of churches will even broach the subject this next 12
Why are we
months.
doing that? What is the deal? Why are we doing that?
A bunch of reasons that I can put my finger on. And then there's, I'm sure, some that I haven't been able to figure out yet. One of them is pastors and leaders don't have much working knowledge about blended families, and they don't like to talk about things they don't know much about. Yeah. And so it's sort of out of sight, out of mind, all right? The other one is that they don't necessarily recognize how many step relationships they have within their own congregation, and certainly not in their community. Well, I've had pastors say to me, I'm not sure we have any blended families. And I'm like, yeah, dude, you have a ton. They're just not telling you because of that, because of your lack of interest. They're not raising their hand. That's the way the shame factor works in church life. And even if you only had a few blended families in your congregation, you have a ton surrounding your congregation. The outreach potential of this type of ministry is unbelievable.
Yeah.
We just don't go there. We don't talk about it much. We want to talk about what families should be like, not necessarily what they are like.
Wow.
And so we talk about healthy marriage. And We don't want to talk about divorce in another marriage. We just sort of find ourselves uncomfortable in those spaces. Sometimes it's theological. Most of the time, I think it's just an emotional lack of comfort
Yeah.
or a lack of working knowledge. And so at the end of the day, we just don't go there.
Well, and I think you said it best. It's like it's complex. I think about all the blended families and step families I know in my life. And it's like in one set, it's like, oh, they're going to all the events together. They get along. They're on a group text. And another one, it's a really, really difficult, challenging situation. And so maybe I'm wondering if that's part of it too, is there's not a cute formula. It's like do 1, 2, 3. It's like it's so specific to the dynamic. So how have you ministered and supported people through all these years, but also recognized the individual complexity of each situation?
Yeah, well, that's what we do is we dig into the if you will. And so we just try to address that stuff. And here's what we find. People may be a little apprehensive to actually walk in the door at an event or training or pick up a book or whatever it is, or raise their hand in their small group and you're talking about parenting or a situation. They're going, yeah, I'm a step parent. I don't know how what you just said applies to me, or I tried that once and it totally backfired on me. How come that works for the rest of you, but not for me? Like those are just questions that make people feel singled out and different and perhaps a little weird and judged. And so they do that once and they never do it ever again. Our ministry says, no, welcome here. We're going to dive into that space and we're going to talk about marriage. But we're also going to talk about the last marriage and how it came apart and the loss and the sadness and the grief that you and children are walking with still today as a result of death or divorce or whatever that backstory is. We're going to talk about parenting and step parenting because step parenting is really different than biological parenting. We're going to talk about co-parenting with the other household. We're going to talk about dealing with your ex-mother-in-law because she's still in your family, whether you like it or not.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about kids and money and helping children bond with people they're not sure they even like. How do you establish new rules, new holiday rituals and families and traditions as you move through the calendar of a given year? Like all of that is what is happening all the time.
So cool.
For blended families. And so we just jump in the middle of it.
I love it. So the main purpose of today is to introduce folks to you and just to say, hey, if you're walking that and you're like, thank goodness a Christian parenting podcast is finally saying there is this whole group of people. So we'll connect them to all the things. But the first question I have for you is, as you see people come into your events or a seminar or something, what are they feeling when they walk in, and what do you notice about them when they walk out?
Yeah. They may walk in a little apprehensive sometimes. Usually they've checked us out enough. We have a YouTube channel. We have a podcast. We have all kinds of videos. The most widely used video curriculum in the world is ours. All that, they can find us really fast and go, okay, these guys know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And so they find comfort. But if they haven't done any of that and they walk in and they just start absorbing, first of all, relief. Thank you that it's not just us. I thought we were strange. I thought we were the ones who were defeated and wrong. And we're just like everybody else. That not only brings sort of, you can drop your shoulders and rest a little bit and breathe, but it brings hope, Courtney, because it's like, okay, I had one lady say to me, I point stuff out in your books to my husband so he'll read it. And she said, and I know I'm not crazy because if you've put it in a book, then it must not just be me. And I'm like, yes, hallelujah. That's what we want.
That's right.
And so they go like, yes, there's hope in this. Like, okay, so now we know what it is. What do we do about it? And here's a few things. It just is so relieving for people, and they bond with the other people around them so quickly. It's sort of like same foxhole. Okay, yeah, we're one and the same. We're friends. We just hadn't met each other yet. We love to watch that happen. We also, by the way, do training for leaders who are starting or wanting to start a ministry, or people that are leading a small group, but they've never actually sat down with somebody else who's doing the same thing. And it's fun to watch the leaders get together because they bond. Immediately, because they just feel the same life.
So important. I can tell that you're obviously passionate about it and you've stayed at it for this long. So there's definitely a need and it's definitely working. And I just love that you're saying to families like, no, God's for you too. Like Jesus is not just for the, family that by design did A plus B plus C, but it's like God is working in your families too. So can we get specific, and we can go as many as you want, but practically, how could you encourage parents today that are parenting through that scenario, whether they just are walking through a divorce or they've just, their spouses just got remarried? There's all kinds of scenarios, but Give us some practical things that these families can do.
Sure. And by the way, you mentioned Jesus, so I'll just remind everybody he had a stepdad. So, it's not like the savior of the world hadn't been there, done that. He had. And I always remind people, there's 2 stories about Joseph in the Bible, and both of them remind him that he wasn't the dad. Story 1, Mary's pregnant. Oh, not mine. I'm out.
Wow.
Right? He felt no emotional attachment to this child at all. It wasn't his kid.
Wow.
Okay. Guess what, step-parents? Sometichimes you kind of look at your stepchild and go, I don't know what to do with you. I don't know where to put you. I don't know what, and I'm not sure I really wanted to take on all this responsibility. But Joseph, who gets tapped on the shoulder by the Spirit of the Lord, who says, dude, we need you. And he's like, yeah, okay, I'll do that. And by the way, dude is in the Greek. It's in there. I saw it. I don't know where.
I believe you.
I'm pretty sure it's there. But the point is, this is what step-parents do every single day. They take on responsibilities that are not theirs, not inherently theirs, and they choose them. Think about that, Courtney. The God of the universe chose to take on human flesh and come down here and love us with his entire self. And the first thing that happens is he has a man choose to love him.
Love it. Love it.
Wow.
Yeah.
These are step-parents. Let's lift them up and support them a little bit. They're taking on monumental tasks.
Right.
I think that's amazing.
Yep.
Story number 2 about Joseph. Jesus gets lost. He's 12. They can't find him. They're like, where have you been? And he's like, oh, I went to my dad's house. Joseph gets reminded every moment in the Bible that he's not the dad.
Wow.
See, this is also step-parents' life, because there are moments where the kid looks at you and says, you're not my mom. You can't tell me what to say. Or I love that you're cleaning my clothes for me and making my meals and taking me to soccer practice and getting me to school on time. But don't try to tell me how to run my life.
Yeah.
Like, how confusing is a space is that for step-parents? You are, but you aren't. Or you are as long as I like you, but then you aren't is the moment I don't want you to play that role in my life.
Right.
Step-parents deal with that on an ongoing basis. Now, I don't think Jesus was snotty at all. I think he was very respectful. He was just knowing his priority. So that's not really a true comparison. But that experience of him, I have all those obligations and responsibilities, and yet I don't get the respect. I don't get the authority. I'm not counted as a parent in this child's life, and it leaves me in this place of ambiguity. How difficult is that? Now, those are just 2 examples of the emotional world and climate that step-parents have to navigate.
Right.
They pick up great resources. They listen to your awesome podcast, and they're encouraged by something, and they go and they try it, and it backfires because in their world, there's an upside-down dynamic where authority is what allows you the right, for example, for a parent to step into a kid's world and say, not going to do it that way. We're going to do it this way. But step-parents have marginal authority in the beginning. They have, they feel like they have authority, but the child hasn't quite accepted that authority. Now we have tension. And so what works for biological parents can completely backfire on step-parents. But nobody told them that. They didn't know. So they tried to do what was right. Well, right for different people, not right for you. See, that's the kind of stuff we want to try to help them make sense of. The practicalities of navigating that space when you're not the parent.
Yeah.
That's what's hard and
Well,
challenging.
imagine that backfiring as I'm thinking about my listeners. They go home and try something, and they're not, first reaction I imagine would not be, oh, this is because I'm in a complex situation. It's like, I knew I wasn't a good Christian. I knew I'm never going to be a great parent. I mean, you just imagine the guilt and shame spiral that they get into is like, I'm a loss, and my kids have the worst mom and that kind of thing. So that makes me feel, I'm just understanding at a level that I didn't before. So thank you.
Yeah. And let me throw another twist on it. So imagine you're a biological parent. So you got married, you had 2 kids, life hit, death, divorce, whatever that story is, the marriage came apart. And now you're a single parent and you're carrying all the load and all the finances and all the decisions. And you do that for a few years and it's challenging and hard and you're exhausted every night of your life. And then you meet somebody who makes you smile again. And there's hope and there's some pep in your step and you're looking forward to the future. And what is a gain for you in terms of a partner, a companion, a lover, and a friend is a bit of a challenge for your children who are like, whoa, we just wanted dad back. We just wanted life the way it was. Or we've just settled into this single parent thing and we're feeling like we're grooving and we don't want any more changes. Keep in mind, every unwanted change for a child is a loss. So in this scenario, mom's new marriage is a loss. Gain for her, loss for the children. Now, the guy she's marrying has got kids too. So bio mom, who knows what it is to be large and in charge, to be the mom or to be the hub, to be important to your children, now becomes stepmom to somebody else's children. And those children look at you like you got three eyes. And they're like, we don't want you. We didn't ask for you. See, loss for them
Wow.
is your presence in their life. So bio mom with 2 kids that are mine, stepmom with 3 kids that are his, different ages, different life experiences, come from a different journey. They're still looking at you like you're weird and they don't know what to do with you. And so you know your role with 2 of the children. You don't know your role with the other 3. How confusing is that?
So
Right?
confusing.
And so, of course, you adopt the same posture. I know what it is to be a mom. Moms do this and moms say that and moms jump in and moms go, tell me about that girl at school that you got a crush on. And you just sort of assume you can be the hub in their world, except those 3 look at you like, sorry, I don't give you that. I don't ask you for that. I don't want this from you. Get out of my room. Get out of my life. And it's so confusing because you're safe with some children and you're unsafe with others. You begin to just say, now that's one layer of
layer.
Well, that's
wow.
one layer of stepness. And by the way, what does she do with that? She goes to her husband and goes, I don't know what to do. And he's going, come on, my kids are great. They love you. And she's like, no, they don't. And he's like, yes, they do. And now we have a marital problem. See, what starts as a parental step-parenting problem instantly becomes a marriage problem. And that's why, if you press me on why is the divorce rate a little higher for blended family couples than it is for couples in first biological homes, I would say it's that. It's the complexity of the not knowing that ultimately creates stress and tension in their marriage.
Wow.
And they just sort of pull back because they don't know what else to do.
Do you think the stressor too is that they want it right away? Like everybody just get along. Like they just want it, like we got married yesterday, so by this Easter, everybody smile and let's just do this thing.
Yes. Here's the research. The average step family needs 5 to 7 years to find their cohesiveness and their fit.
Wow. Okay.
5 to 7 years, not 5 to 7 months, not 5 to 7 days. You're going on a honeymoon, come back, and everybody's happy. No, it is a long journey to. In fact, that's one of our big teaching points. How do you cook a step family? It's not in a blender because that's quick and fast and takes 30 seconds. It's not even in a microwave that takes 2 minutes or 5 to warm up. It's in a crock pot that takes hours, equivalent of years. Right? Ugh. It's slow. You can get there, though. See, that's the thing. It's all about expectations at this point. You know, if my expectation is quick and fast, I love your husband or your dad, and your dad loves me. So kids, we're just going to be happy family. Well, it's just more complicated than that. It's not that the carrots and the potatoes and the celery won't get there. They'll cook. Yeah. But they each cook on their own timing. That's one factor.
Yep.
And they cook more slowly than you. When you came into this marriage, you were half cooked already. You were half baked. Maybe we could say, you were already there in your heart, your mind. You wanted this family. That's why you got married. That's why you're putting this thing together. So you're already highly motivated. The other ingredients have to find their motivation, and they have to figure this space out, and they have to figure out, now I got a stepmom. What does that mean for my relationship with my biological mom?
Yeah.
Who may even be deceased. I don't get to see her ever, but I still want her in my world and my life. So that's the kind of thing the ingredients are all wrestling with. So what does that mean? It just means it takes 5 to 7 years on average, not months, not even a couple of years.
Which is so helpful to hear.
Yeah. So we help people lower those expectations, not get rid of them, not quit, not say, I'm done. I don't know how to do this. That's what a lot of people do. They jump out of the crock pot and they just leave, but no. You got good stuff here. And by the way, if you've ever eaten anything out of a crock pot, you know how good it is.
Yeah.
You do have to wait for the good to get there, but keep pressing forward and it gets better and better. It tastes better over time. So that's what we help people do. Slow the roll, settle in, find, a connection with each ingredient, do what you can today, and slowly but surely that creates cooking.
So good. I'm thinking of some friends in my life that are just in some hard spaces as step parents. Would you speak to them that are in the midst of it, that are thinking, will it ever get better? Like, will we ever get to the other side?
Yeah, and you will. You will. Now, you got to be smart about it. Okay, we got a whole series of books called the Smart Step Family Books series, and that is really important. In other words, the intentionality and the intelligence of understanding what you're doing, how the family is receiving you, what your role is, and how you make it work on your behalf rather than you inadvertently making things worse for yourself. See, that's what blendering does. Super high expectation on your stepchild or your own biological child to like or love the step people, step siblings, step mom, step dad, step grandpa. Hey, I need you to get along with these folks today is essentially what a lot of parents sort of message to their children. They don't say those words, but that's sort of their hope. And so when they create pressure on kids to get there, that just makes those ingredients slow down in their cooking process. They don't speed up. They cool down instead of warming up. They get resistant and angry rather than going soft and open.
Yeah.
So little mistakes like that, when you stop doing those things and start settling in and crock-potting, we like to say, it's amazing how the cooking process goes better. And all of a sudden, things are moving in the right direction. So if you find yourself beating your head against a wall, it's time to get smart. That's podcasts. We got 150 that are out today that people could listen to. We have 12 books in our series.
That's awesome.
We have 8 video curriculum. It's out there.
That's so good. I'm so
You don't
thankful.
have to just wander in that wilderness anymore.
And as I'm like literally just thinking through scenarios, because I've never been in this, which is just so helpful for me to go, okay, there's a lot of in the middle, monkey in the middle scenarios. So if you're the child in the midst of 2 parents who are getting divorced, if you are the dad in the midst of a stepmom and his kids, like just all these tricky scenarios. So do you just suggest therapy as well? Imagine as a therapist where you're like, I just can't imagine if like one of the parents is trying to lead the conversation, but they're the really hurt one. Like, is it helpful to get in the room with a therapist to say, okay, what I hear is going on is this, and kind of assess the situation?
Absolutely. I mean, for some people, that's just the best way to get a guide. Now, I do want to add a word of caution there. There's a lot of blended family couples who know more about step-family living than most counselors.
Wow.
So I've been doing training now for about 5 years. We have a list of recommended therapists that have done their homework. And it doesn't mean they're the best in the world, but they've at least tried to ready themselves to work with step families. And
That's
so
great.
people can go to my personal website, which is smartstepfamilies.com, and click on the Find a Counselor link.
Perfect.
And you can search by your state and location, and we have a few international ones.
That is such a good money saver. Somebody's like, thank you. I would have been 3 sessions deep, $800. And you're like,
that's right.
They were not helpful at all. So that's
right.
amazing. Do you have it, I imagine, different states?
Yes, we do. And a few international folks that have gone through the training, and we offer the training periodically. So if you're listening and you know a counselor, you is one, we'd love for you to go through that. You'll be able to find all that at smartstepfamilies.com. I will say this too, our resources, our small group tools, our small group 8-session series, you can watch at home for free. Okay, it is readily available through Right Now Media. You don't even have to subscribe to Right Now Media. We've worked it out where anybody, anywhere can watch that. You could also get a couple of couples together and watch it together. Now, you don't have to be a, quote, ministry or a leader or trained or anything. Just get people together. It's not that difficult to kind of help each other, support each other. Just be the church for each other, and you'll be surprised at just how much comes out of that for you and your family.
I love it. Ron, this is awesome stuff. And I know there's a slew of parents listening. They're like, finally, you said something that resonates with me. And I know they're so encouraged. But tell me a little bit about your new book, A Mindful Marriage. I want to have you and Nan back on, but that's one that y'all just came out in a different lane, but also important in your ministry.
Yeah, this book is for all couples, but I will tell you, since we're talking about blended, I'll just say I think it's the most important book I've written for blended families, and here's why. Because this book cuts through, it's unlike any other marriage book you've ever read. It cuts through all the fluff, and it goes down to the heart of what makes relationships work and not work. Why the worst of us sometimes is drawn out when we get emotionally triggered in relationships. So no matter what kind of relationship it is, this book has application to it.
Love it.
And here's the other thing, big confession. This book is Nan and I's mess. In 2007, our marriage blew up. We hit a wall. We go to a counselor. Turns out he's a genius. Fast forward life, he's now created this therapeutic approach called restoration therapy that's used around the world. And nobody's ever heard of it because he primarily has only written to academics, but it's practiced all around. Well, we partnered with Dr. Terry Hargrave and his wife Sharon, who's also a clinician. And Nan and I basically give our testimony and we teach their principles. This is the thing that has made a difference for us, the biggest difference in our work. I've been in ministry for 37 years and nothing has affected my walk with Jesus or my marriage more than what's in the mindful marriage. And so we brag on it because it's not our stuff. It's Dr. Hargrave's stuff. And we're just bringing it to a mass audience so that regular folk can just absorb and learn from this great, great stuff that is deeply rooted in New Testament theology. And so we just love it. And I just think it has an application for anybody, anywhere.
I love it. You and I have a mutual friend, and Rachel Faulkner Brown, and I listened to y'all's interview with her and just was brought to tears last night. So y'all, I'll link you to it. But just your honesty and vulnerability about addiction and about the loss of your son is so refreshing, because this is the stuff that ministry people don't talk about, and it's so important. So thank y'all for, I can imagine that was not easy to put some of this stuff out there in the world. And so I appreciate the fact that you did that. And I want you guys to go listen to that. It will really encourage you so much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And listen, thank you for giving time to the blended family subject. I know we've just sort of scratched the surface. There's always so many intimate, detailed questions that people have. You can get that help now. I just think a lot of people are walking around going, man, nobody helps us at all. That's not true anymore.
Yeah.
When I started 30 years ago, Courtney, literally I could find one Christian resource for Stepfamilies, and it went out of print pretty quickly.
Wow.
And it was so frustrating. And so fast forward today, that we have bukus, you name it, audio, book, video. You can go to live events. We have virtual training events, all kinds of opportunities now, all done by highly well-produced and highly trained people. And so people just need to look, and they can find it. And if you know somebody who's in a blended family, by all means, please tell them about Family Life Blended and what we're doing.
That's one of my favorite parts of this job, is just connecting people to awesome people and resources. So thank you for being here. Have a good day. Thanks so much.
God bless.
Christian parenting.